All right, y'all been asking for it forever. Let's do a rep your set.
What you gonna do? Rep your set, yeah, we fresh to death. From east to west, float on my friends. Rep your set, yeah, we fresh to death. From east to west, float on my friends.
All right, so here it is. This is my board. Now, I have a whole bunch of boards, but this is my main go-to. This is the board I ride, I would say 95% of the time. I originally built this thing just to be like a super sick little trail ripper, and it's sort of turned into my daily all around. I ride this thing to lunch. I ride trails with it. It's great on trails. I rip it all over town, rip it around the ranch. This is definitely my go-to board. This thing feels better than any other board I have, so let me walk you guys through what we have going. So the base of this board is an XR frame. So I really like the XR platform a lot more than the GT platform or any of the other platforms out there, Pint, Float Wheel, whatever. I just think XR feels the best. To me, it feels like when you're riding an XR platform, like you're in it, right? Like when you're riding it, you're just in it. And then when I ride like a GT platform, I feel like I'm on it. Like it's something I'm trying to wrangle the whole entire time. So it just feels a lot more natural and nice to me. The only issue that we had with the XR platform is it was severely underpowered. So that's where this board comes in. So this thing is not just a stock XR, it's got a whole bunch of goodies under the hood. So let's start talking about them. First thing we cover, bangs, baby. You gotta have bang bumpers on your board, especially XR bangs. These are the original, they're still the best. I've had these things on here forever and they're hardly even worn down. Bangs will last you a lifetime, so get some bangs. We got them for GT. Don't have them for Pint yet. Does that mean we might have them? I don't know. But regardless, they're just the standard bangs. I've got the matte version on here as opposed to the gloss. We got matte and gloss. No reason for that, it's just what we had laying around. And then next we can talk about the rails. So these are varials that we have right here. We have the burnt orange quarter panels and I've got the black centers, and I just ride the standard WTF. We've also got steep and deep and lift and lower and straights and FAF, and there's a lot of different versions, but to me just the symmetrical mellow WTF is like absolutely perfect for me. So I just prefer riding the standard WTF on everything from street to trail. So that's what I choose, WTF. And then on the rails, I've actually got some XR gripples on all four corners. And the reason for that is, a lot of times when we're doing tricks and stuff, we'll have a board that goes straight up and like tombstones straight down on the rail, kind of like this. Bah! And I can't tell you how many controllers I've bricked from that happening onto concrete. So what's nice about these XR gripples is they fit right here perfect and they really absorb a lot of that slam. And then I've actually got the GT WTF rail badges right here. Now these don't normally work on XR rails, but I just put a piece of VHB, like double-sided tape on the back of them and stick them on. The tabs actually fit perfect. I'll show you, there we go. The tabs on them actually fit perfect into the screw holes right here. So you could pop them off and now you still have access to those inner hub bolts to tighten them up, because as you guys know, on this platform, the inner hub bolts can get loose. So it's nice to have that access to tighten them without taking your whole entire wheel off. So yeah, I just put these on because I feel like it's a cool look. They don't really do a whole lot besides like maybe a little bit of impact protection, but I just think it looks cool. Cover those holes up. So there you go. All right, now to the hub. So this is an MTE billet with N48 magnets. I like the 48s on the XR. I think the 52s work really well on the GT platform, especially on the GTS platform. But on XR, I like 42s and 48s, and probably 48s a little more. You get a little bit more punch to it, a little bit more kick. So that's really nice. Now that I have an MTE and now that I've been on 5-inch for so long, I mean, shoot, I've been riding 5-inch hubs for a long time now. We prototyped and tested these things for a while before they got released. But now if I even go back to like a 6-inch hub, like I jump on my growler board on a 6-inch hub and it's just so tough on my body. Like having that 5-inch hub and all that sidewall, just even riding around the street, like going over potholes, dropping curbs, hitting bonks and stuff, it's like, if I don't have a 5-inch hub, it just jars my whole entire body. And I'm damn near 40 these days and these knees have seen a lot of life. A lot of gnarly stuff. I've not treated them well. So just having that extra cushion is sort of the closest thing we have to like really good suspension on these things right now. So for me, it's like 5-inch or nothing. I ride them on everything, street boards, trail boards, everything. So MTE hub. Oh, and inside the MTE, it is a hypercore stator, and it's not the GTS version, it's just the regular XR hypercore. Reason for that, I'm too lazy to rewire a GTS stator into an XR build, even though it would probably help with thermals quite a bit. So I did the lazy, easy thing to do, just super simple, and I got some cold blocks on there. So these cold blocks are super helpful when it comes to overheating. They take a ton of the heat that's generated inside here, transfer it to the rails real well. So these rails will get a lot hotter because it's doing a good job of transferring all the heat out away from the magnets, because the more heat you have in the motor, the less efficient your magnets are, the more likely you are to overheat and damage your board. Now the MTE does have the super high temp magnet, so you're not gonna damage the magnets by overheating your board within reason. So that's not a big concern, but you definitely don't wanna run your board super hot because performance is affected at those higher temperatures because the magnets will become less magnetized. Now, the nice thing about the high temp magnets is it's not like a long-term thing where if you don't have the super high temp magnets, you can damage the magnets and they're forever jacked up. So it's just a temporary thing, but again, you want to keep your motor as cool as you possibly can while you ride, and that's why I've got the cold blocks on there. All right, now maybe one of my favorite parts about this whole entire board is the tire. So I've got the 5-inch Pioneer on here. So this is the Pioneer that works on all 5-inch hubs, MTE included. And this thing is sweet. I can honestly say I think this is the best tire we've ever made for any board ever. I would vote this tire right here. I originally put it on just as an off-road tire. We developed it as just an off-road winter tire. It's like, this thing's gonna smash through the ice and the mud and it's gonna be fantastic, but you'd never wanna ride it on the road. Oh boy, was I wrong, because it still rips on the road. It's definitely louder than a slick would be, and it grips a lot, which is good in a lot of scenarios. It's not the greatest for tricks. So like I could still nose slide this board all day, no problem, back nose, front nose, but certain things where I want it to slide a little bit better, like some crusty curbs or something, this is maybe not the best tire for that. But again, this isn't, you know, set up to be a trick board because it's got so much grip. But it's funny, I go jump on other tires now and I start doing skirts out to the side and it breaks loose so heavy on those other boards because I'm so used to Pioneer tread, which is just like crazy grippy. So this thing's got the deepest tread out of any one-wheel tire. It's super nice. It's got a really nice flat spot at the crown here. The shoulders are fantastic on it. The fact that we have all this sidewall right here, they give way super nice on turns. So when you lean into turns, it just, that sidewall, I don't want to say buckles, but it gives and sort of deforms with the tire so that you have a really nice fat contact patch when you're laying heavy into turns, and you don't get those little squirrels on the turns at all. It just sticks on the edge and just turns super nice. So yeah, this tire, again, my favorite tire I've ever ridden on. It's really a lot better all around than I thought it was gonna be. Not just quite as specialized as we had originally built it for, which I think is awesome. So if you haven't tried one of these yet, this is an awesome tire. I'd suggest give it a shot. If we have it in stock, we might not because they sell out super fast. But if you got a chance to get one because 5-inch Pioneer is sweet. So for fender, I usually don't ride a fender for a few different reasons. Really, I like seeing my tire spin. I think that's pretty darn cool. I don't like how loud fenders are when you're just kind of cruising around because you'll get a bunch of rocks hitting on them and stuff like that. And then it does add a little bit of top heaviness to your board. And I know the tops of fenders are really light and fenders don't weigh that much as long as you get a light fender. But still, it's something that just doesn't quite feel right to me to have a fender, which is why I like rocking the drop top bases only. So I rock the bases only, and then if we do get into a situation where it's raining outside, then I'll just snap the top in and ride it. It's no big deal. It's California, so you know it rains like twice a year, so it's not something I really have to worry about. But it is nice to have that option where I can just pop the top off super easy. So drop top for me, rock the front and the back base pieces. All right, I think we've covered pretty much all the stock regular parts that you guys are all used to, and I think it's time to get into the fun, really unique, like prototype stuff on this board that I've been riding for quite some time. So let's start with these foot pads. This is something new. So these are the redesigned Cush Lows that aren't even out yet. So these are in their final prototype stage right now. I've been riding them for about 6 months now through all the different prototypes, and they are freaking awesome. So there's a reason why we've been out of XR Cush Low for a while. It's because they were going through this massive redesign. And here is a final prototype version. So there's gonna be some features in this that will most likely make it to the production version, but we haven't 100% confirmed that. So if I'm talking about some things on here that don't make it to the production version, there you go, it's still in late stage prototyping, so there you go. The front and the back on these foot pads are 100% symmetrical on the XR version. So that's pretty darn cool. It's based off the Cush Low. So if you guys love the Cush Low, it's the exact same shape. Nice, super mellow kick, super mellow concave on them. And we're doing them out of an 80A urethane, so exact same that you're used to with the Cush. The internal structure is a little bit different on them. So, you know, it's a little bit softer in some areas than it wasn't before. That really helps with foot control and comfort, harder in some other areas. So we were able to really fine tune sort of the individual feel on all parts of the foot pad just by changing the internal structure on the backside of the foot pad. How the front works is probably what you guys are all wondering right now, like, oh, Jeff, what sensor do you have on there? It's something completely new. So this is something no one's ever seen before. It's something that no one's done before. It's completely different from everything that currently exists right now. And I freaking love it. So a big problem that I was having with foot pads would be I would break them. You know, we're not easy on our boards. We ride off-road a lot. We do a lot of tricks. Our boards go flipping down the trail. They run into curbs, you know, hit by cars sometimes. And, you know, I have problems when I catch a rock right into my foot pad and then all of a sudden, oh, guess what? It's ghosting. That sucks. I got to throw it away and buy a whole other new foot pad, sometimes even a whole new foot pad set, or I got to rip it off and, you know, reapply a sensor to it. And I've never really had good luck with the apply yourself type sensors. You know, I've tried it a bunch. It usually runs great for a while, and then I run into issues with it ghosting or cutting. So I've never really trusted those, and I've always just ridden the Future Motion stock foot pads. Those are great and everything, but they're 150 bucks. And with the discontinuation of the XR, I think it's only a matter of time before those disappear too. Here is a really cool feature about these foot pads, the one thing that I'm probably most excited about. So you can see activates, totally works. I let go, it disengages totally like normal. And what if I did something like this? Oh, what about the claw side? Oh my God, would you ever do that with a regular foot pad sensor? I know I wouldn't, but check this out. Totally works, totally disengages. That's not the first time I've hit this thing with a hammer and done this demonstration. This thing's been hit with a hammer like dozens of times. And the claw side of the hammer, it's gone flipping down the mountain, it's whacked into sharp sticks. You're not gonna damage this sensor, which is the super cool thing about it. So you can take a heavy rock hit to it, and guess what? Still freaking works. Doesn't ghost on you, you're not gonna have to replace it. So I think that's super awesome. Another thing we built into here is we did it more rigid. We noticed that a lot of people, when they were doing their front Cush sensor mounts, they were actually installing a piece of aluminum or steel underneath it, which is gonna increase the weight, it's gonna increase the cost, the complexity. So we've taken care of that already. It's totally rigid, so you're not going to damage your controller box underneath if you've got like a 3D printed controller box. You're not gonna get any sag in the middle or anything. It's completely rigid, totally solid, which is awesome. One other really cool thing that doesn't affect me at all because I live in California, but for you folks in the Midwest and back east, one-wheel sensors don't work well in the cold. Like if you leave your board in your car overnight, guess what? You gotta bring it in and warm it up before you can even ride it because that sensor's just not gonna activate. And I know I've been frustrated by that before from leaving in my car overnight or being up in Tahoe or something. And that kind of sucks. Or if you wanna ride in the super cold weather, you know, your sensor could not work. So these new Cush are actually engineered to perform in super low temperature environments, which is awesome. So it doesn't have to be nice, super warm California weather for your sensor to be working perfect and super awesome. Pretty pumped on that. There's a few more features on here that are that may or may not make it into the final version, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it into the final version. There is a little cutout right here in the front that we cover up with a plug. Your grip tape goes over it, but it's a physical switch for flight fenders, which is pretty darn cool. So the way the XR flight fenders work, they actually come up and over where the sensor would be right here. And we noticed that if we do that, then the problem is it actually pinches it. You can have ghosting issues or anything like that. So we've got a switch that disables the sensor around exactly where the flight fender would go. So if you like rocking a flight fender, guess what? Flip that switch over, put the plug back in, boom, you're good to go. You got nothing to worry about. If you don't rock a flight fender, flip that switch over, and now all of a sudden you have sensors that go all the way to right here. So that's pretty sweet. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, our sensor tech goes damn near to the outside edge. I think it's like, if I had to guess off the top of my head, a 1/4 inch from the outside, maybe even less. So this whole area on the outside is all sensor too, which is pretty darn sweet. So that means you can take corners super heavy. You know, let's say you lift your toes up on the corner because you're edging so hard, and then your heel's the only thing on there. Your sensor's gonna stay on, it's not gonna turn off like it would normally with the current sensor tech. So I think that is pretty darn cool. We've also got a little cutout in the front where we can get 5-volt power out of, which is awesome because that means, oh, potential things that are coming down the pipe that can go on the front of your board that need power internally from your board, powered from your foot pad, yes. So we got a couple things in the works that we're pretty excited about there, but I'm not ready to let the cat out of the bag on that one. But just know that there's other stuff coming for these foot pads. This is far from the finished. Another cool thing about these is they do have Cush Glow integrated into them, at least in the clear version. So we have got Cush Glow, all the awesome properties of Cush Glow. So yeah, if you guys like Cush Glow, guess what? You got it built in, at least on the clear version, we're gonna include it. I don't know if that's gonna be a separate option or an upgrade or what that's gonna be, but just know that these are full-on Cush Glow compatible as well. So yeah, let's talk about the internals a little bit on this one. This is a VESC-based board, so that means it runs off the open source VESC code. So it's not running Future Motion software at all on it. It's all completely open source stuff, so it's way more tunable, way more editable. If you guys wanna learn about VESC, there's a million different places to do it. I don't have enough time in this video to explain it to you, but just know it's a VESC-based board. Internally, in the front box here, I've got a Fokker 3. That's from Makers PEV, so makerspev.com. You can go support them. Wee's the guy who runs it. He's a super cool guy. So yeah, if you want a Fokker, that's the place to go. And that Fokker is encased in the box. Dun, dun, dun. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna be released by the time this video drops. It's not currently available right now, but it is our own custom proprietary box that we built. It's the enclosure. It's pretty darn sweet. It's made to be as simple as possible. It can take gland from the motor. It can take Molex. It's still got the handle, which I think is really, really awesome. And it is, what is it? I think it's is it level 3 anodized?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's level 3 anodized, which is super rad. So that means it can take how many volts?
A lot.
A lot of volts.
Up to 700.
700 volts. Wow, crazy. Basically, the reason why we did the level 3 anodization, it's not only super tough, but it's also non-conductive. So now you can place your board directly on it. It's a bottom mount controller box. So you place your board directly on it and you don't have to use a thermal pad anymore, which is freaking awesome. You just do thermal paste, so it's better at heat transfer off those MOSFETs. It's great, I love it. It's a fantastic box, and I wanted a heavy duty billet box with a handle, and there wasn't one available, so boom, we made one. There you go get one if you want one. All right, the battery. So this is an 84 volt build. It's got 18650s. It's the P28A batteries on it. Mario Contino, the board garage, built it for me, and it is a freaking sweet battery. So this battery's cool because it gives you a lot of punch, but not like too much, and then you don't have to sacrifice weight. It's a really lightweight battery too, and it fits in a stock battery box. So just straight Future Motion battery box, straight XR battery box, fits in it. You don't need to use a torque box, which is pretty sweet. You know, torque box is great and all, but if you can avoid spending the money and you can just use stock parts, that's pretty darn nice to have. The only downfall of this battery, I feel like, is range. You definitely sacrifice range. So, you know, like a 75 volt meat pack will actually get better range than this. But, you know, I get a little more than stock XR range, and that's pretty fine by me. I think I get somewhere close to probably like maybe almost CBXR range, but not quite. And that's totally fine for me for the rides that I do. I think it's worth the trade-offs, but again, you know, batteries are all trade-offs. Do you want more range? Do you want more power? Do you want it lighter, heavy? Like there's a bunch of trade-offs. So that's what I'm rocking in this one. I'm really, really happy with this 84 volt build. So that's my battery. Again, shout out Mario at the Board Garage. Go get your batteries from him. He does like really nice work, sometimes like too nice. It takes a while to get batteries out, but thank you, Mario, appreciate you. This guy. So this is a BKB Voyager remote, And so the cool thing about this is that I've got this programmed into this board to where when I press up and down, it actually controls it up and down. Now I haven't binded it with the board because I grabbed the wrong remote. My other remote in there is the one that's binded to it right now. But give me a sec, let me bind real quick and I'll show you what it does. All right, we're bound. So with this remote, it's very cool because I can actually control the pitch of my board as I ride. So you can see if I press forward, my nose goes down. If I press back, it goes up. If I let go, it goes right back to level. So the reason why I like this so much, it's mainly for off-road riding. Actually, it's 100% for trail rides. So what's nice about it is if I've got a big steep jump coming up, I can just kick it back a little bit and that raises my nose, and then I have a way easier time getting up that jump without clipping my nose. Same thing with like a long uphill. And then as far as the downhill stuff, what's really cool is, you know, I can send a jump, land down in steep transition, hold it down forward like that, hold it down, and then it'll actually land nose down, bolts into that transition. I don't have to land tail heavy and then try to force the nose down. So it makes landing so much better. It makes takeoffs so much better. It makes everything way more comfortable. It makes the turns a lot better too, because I've noticed on the sharp hairpin turns, instead of my nose just kind of being in the ground right off the takeoff, I can hit that turn really fast, crank my nose up right at the finish of that turn after I come out of the apex, and I can just stand on my nose coming out of that turn because I can basically make a temporary elevated mode for myself out of that turn so I can accelerate faster, which I think is freaking awesome. And then the one other thing that I really like it for is, you know, when you're flying downhill sometimes and then that hill gets steeper and you didn't realize it, and now you're going way too fast, but your tail is almost scraping the ground because it's so steep and you just have no brakes at all, and you're like, well, I just gotta commit and hope I can ride this out, and then sometimes you die and sometimes you don't. Well, I don't have that anymore, because when that is happening to me and my tail's almost scraping the ground, all I have to do is press forward, my tail comes up off the ground, and now I have brakes. So it's so much safer for me. I feel like this has increased my off-road confidence by a ton. I feel kind of unsafe riding without it on super gnarly stuff. I still do all the time. I'll go take it out without the remote, but if I'm like trying to really, really rip, the remote's where it's at. I freaking love this thing. Oh, and the new version, the 2, is coming out in like a week or 2, like super soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's supposed to be just like this one, but significantly better with all sorts of upgrades and a lot more durable, because this one, I crash and it falls apart. So there you go. All right, I think that covers pretty much everything on this board. Just like one more thing I'd like to talk about would be some of the little different parameters I have in my VESC tune that I like that maybe other people aren't doing potentially. I don't want to walk you through my whole entire tune because that would take forever. And honestly, I don't even know if I could explain it at this point. We've just been like hacking away on it for a year now. One thing that I did discover pretty recently that I'm really, really happy that I did was I changed my max ERPM value. Yeah, so my max ERPM value, I changed it because this board normally, when I freewheel it like this, was going 46 miles an hour, I wanna say. And I noticed that when I'm doing like nose slides or bonks or like nudges where I maybe missed a little bit, my wheel was going from 0 to 46 miles an hour in like half a second, and it was gnarly. And then when it would bite into the ground, it'd be like, whoa, okay, here we go. So what I did is I changed the maximum speed that this tire can even spin, and I changed that to 33 miles an hour. So that was 15,000 on the ERPM. And I found that this is super helpful for me because now my bonks, my tire, like if I really tweak one out, my tire doesn't go 40 miles an hour right out the gate. My nose slides, it's just a nice, consistent spin of the wheel. It doesn't ramp up like crazy, which is great. It doesn't continue to ramp up the more I tilt. So that's super awesome. And I've actually been experimenting a little bit with the ERPM value in reverse, dropping that even lower because I'm never gonna ride that fast in reverse, and setting that to like 20 miles an hour. So in the event I'm doing a blunt slide or blunt stall or something like that, or you know, I hit some air and I get back a little bit, my wheel's spinning backwards, that it's not spinning backwards at the same speed that it would spin forwards. And I'm thinking so far it's been pretty helpful, but I think it needs a lot more experimentation. But that's one cool thing that I like to do with my ERPM. As long as I never exceed 33 miles an hour, I'm fine. And on this build, I don't want to ever go over 33 miles an hour, and I won't. So that's perfect. You know, set it with a little bit of margin of error above where your maximum top speed is ever gonna be, and you'll be fine, but it definitely helps out quite a bit with performance. I've also got permaposy on this, so I don't have heel lift on this anymore. If you're on any part of the foot pad, it's just on. I don't like heel lift. I think it's sketchy sometimes when I'm doing low speed stuff, so I'm just permaposy straight up. I either just jump off or I rotate and drop my foot off like that, or I do a skid stop, so that's never a problem for me. Oh, and then probably the last thing that we'll talk about just on my VESC tune is I actually have my startup angle not 0. So usually, boards, when you get on the foot pad, it doesn't start up until you get like fully level and then it'll click in. I don't like that because a lot of times on tricks, I'll be landing a little bit in the back seat, but front foot heavy, and I want it to catch me like right here and turn on, and then I can kind of fall into it, as opposed to catching me right here and I've already got momentum going forward, and then my nose is gonna be in the ground. By the time it's trying to pick me up, it's gotta work way harder. So I used to have my angle set to like 18, 19 degrees to where as soon as that tail would come off the ground, like right there, it would turn on and auto level you. But Nico hates it and he's trying to wean me off it. I think it's hilarious. Every time someone tries to ride my board, they just crash because it's like trotter start. It's basically the way trotters start up. So he's been trying to wean me off it a little bit. He's got me at 15 degrees now. So you'll see that when we go to start it up, it doesn't have to get to totally level before it kicks in. So right there, and it'll pick you up. So normally, again, it doesn't turn on until it's like right there. Mine turns on right there. So big fan of that. I love it. I think we've reached a nice little compromise where it's not as soon as you step on it goes, and it's not as soon as you're level it goes. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, and I really like that. It works well for me. So yeah, I think that's everything. That is my entire board. Lige, how long have we been recording?
32 minutes.
32 minutes of talking just now, and I haven't even taken a sip of my water yet. Jeez. But this is the board. I've got the full build list down in the description, so check that out. And then while we're doing Rep Your Set stuff, go get a pair of these sweet sunglasses. They're called Ombras, and they're super awesome because I like them. I don't lose them. They just go around in your face. There's no arms on them, so I don't break them. Only pair of sunglasses I haven't been able to lose, so they're sweet. Anyway, those will be down there too. So that's it. That's my board. You guys can quit asking me to do a Rep Your Set now. I'm done for what, at least another year? I'll see you guys in 2025. We'll do another one. So float on, my friends. Still works. Look at that. Crazy, crazy, crazy. What? What? You never do that with your foot pad. You never do it. Never do it. Don't do that. Don't do it with your foot pad. There's no way I'm in focus still.
No. That was great. That's fun.